Now, here are two trays of butterfly weed, and I'm using these as an example. They're side by side, but one of the trays I watered from the bottom, the other tray wasn't quite ready. Okay, and I can see the difference first, the difference in color. The soil is a lighter color in the tray on the left, on a darker color, which is the way it should be in the tray on the right. Okay, and when I lift up the tray on the right, which has enough water in it, it has a good weight to it. When I lift up the tray on the left, it's much lighter. So that's another way to tell whether the tray needs water or not, is its weight. And you'll figure this out pretty quickly, what it should weigh when it has enough water in it. Okay, and so I'm going to take out the butterfly weed and water it from the bottom for about 5 minutes. I'll pour about a cup of water into it and just let it sit for 5 minutes. And then these are not under the dome, so I'm making sure the surface doesn't dry out just by spraying them a couple of times a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Okay, and part of this has to do with your ventilation, where your plants are, and that also will affect the drying of the surface. So if you've got a fan somewhere nearby and it is blowing on the plants, then the surface might dry a little bit faster. It actually, when the plants are starting to form their stems, just think of how they would be normally growing out on the prairie with the breezes. And so people do like to put fans on their plants to wave them around, and I get my granddaughter in here with a little Japanese fan, and she just waves the fan. She fans the plants so that they have breezes, and often when I'm working with the plants, I just ruffle them a bit. And what that does, just like a tree swaying in the wind when it's newly planted, you don't want to stake it too tightly. You want the tree to wiggle a bit, so it strengthens the trunk. The same with any growing herbaceous plant. The stem will strengthen if it has has a little bit of movement, and that just makes it stronger. Okay, it's good for the plants. Just be careful you don't accidentally, uproot it when you're fanning or ruffling it. Particularly the grasses. Okay, so here's some grasses that are growing, and these are bottle brush grass. It often takes a while for bottle brush grass to germinate, and this has germinated pretty quickly this year. And so I'm glad about that. And here, this is the Indian grass, which is doing really well. The other grasses are doing great too. Okay, so we'll just pretend we're a prairie breeze and ruffle our hands over it just a little bit, very lightly. Okay, and we could take a fan and fan it, or we could get a little clip-on battery-operated fan and turn that on for a few minutes, a couple times a day, and that would help too.